Yeah. Alright. Okay. So okay. So for today, we are going to proceed with our next discussion. Okay, next session on uh, your final project. Okay, so let's recap first from the previous session. So for the previous session, okay, so almost all of you have um, presented your proposal, okay, in term of especially for your research objective and research question and so on. Okay, so and then previously we also look at the on topic on how to design, okay, survey questionnaire for quantitative research. Okay, so previously kita tengok ada a few steps on how to design the questionnaire, okay, for the quantitative research. So you can try, okay, this is our slide previously on the quantitative design. So hopefully you have tried for your research question. Okay, so there are a few steps on how to come up with your survey questionnaire. So you need to have your RO. Okay, you need to have the research approach for each RO. Okay, you need to determine the administration of the questionnaire, and you need to design the questionnaire. You need to properly have the formatting and the flow for the questionnaire, and also you need to evaluate in terms of reliability and validity of your questionnaire. Okay, so here this is the the example, one of the example for quantitative study. Okay, you have, let's say for example, three research objective here. So in this example, we are going to look at the factors influencing intention to use keeper pay among zakat recipients in UUM. Okay, so obviously in this example, okay, you have three research question that related, or you want to evaluate something related to correlation or relationship. Okay, and these three objective specifically mention the variables that you are going to measure. Okay, for example here, perceived ease of use, perceived usefulness, and perceived security towards intention to use. Okay, so here this is what you have identified before, your variable. Okay, variable 1 and variable 2. Okay, so what you need to do, you just need to find the measurement or the items or the question for that specific variable. Okay, so that's why it is important to have a very clear objective, for example, and yes, especially when you want to evaluate something related to relationship and so on. So you need something, you need to be very clear on what are you going to measure. Okay, that one is for the quantitative, because quantitative is involved measuring something. Okay, so your variable must be something that can be measured. Okay, so for here, for example, I have PEOU here, PEU, perceived security, and intention to use. So this is all the variables that can be measured and have been measured before by the previous author ataupun previous scholar lah. Okay, so you need to find, and what you have to do, you need to find the set of a different set ataupun a few sets of questions or items that can measure that variable. And after that, you can discuss and you can justify which of the set of variable of items that you want to use. Okay, so it is advisable that you use a set of questionnaire for each variable from the same author. Okay, so that it is you do not have any you are going to have any problem later lah. Okay. Okay, so this is the example. So what I have to do, okay, I have to list down all the set of question from the previous author that measure PEOU. So let's say I have 3 or 4 sets of measurement for items to measure PEOU. Then after that, I'm going to choose which one or which set of items or question I'm going to use for my research. Okay, so you have to repeat the same process for each of your variables. So that one is for the quantitative study lah. Okay, quantitative research. But let's say you are going to do something that is not related to correlation. For example, one of your RO, For example, your RO1 is to measure the average weight of STML student, for example, kan? So that is not something that related to correlation. You are not going to measure any relationship. Okay, you just want to look at the average. So you do not have to refer from the previous study, kan? So that is obvious. The you just need to get the information regarding the weight of the STML student. Okay, so that one is not from the previous study. You do not have to create the question from the previous study because it is obvious you just want to have the data regarding the weight of your SMS student. Okay, so basically we use or adapt from the questionnaire from the previous study which related to the correlation. When we are going to measure the correlation, then we have to come up with a set of questions that have been used from by the previous researcher. We cannot come up with our own items because in order to come up with our own items, our new items, our brand new items, you need to have a few a process of a few stages to from the scratch lah, from the having developing the raw question and until we have to test the item to make sure the items are valid and reliable. So that's why uh, for the correlation of the relationship, let's say you are going to measure the relationship that have been tested before, so it is advisable to use the same or the previous items that have been used unless for example you want to critique the item. For example, you think that that item is not valid or not reliable or not testing the right or not capturing the right relationship, for example, and you are going to propose or critique that measurement and to come up with a new measurement. So you don't you need to you need to go through a few steps lah in order to come up with a new measurement. So if you just want to test something that have been tested before, so please use or you can use the items from the previous author or previous scholar. Okay, so this is among the example lah, boleh come out dengan with your own for your own research. So this is the example for the framework. Okay, so this is very clear. The left hand side variable are usually the independent variable, and the right hand side is the dependent variable. So this is all the specific variable. Okay, specific variable to test towards intention to use. So you need to find all the measurement, all the items that can measure each of your variable. Okay. Okay, so this is the example how you can um, uh, come up with a table for your measurement for each of the variable. For example, here I have my variable is PEOU, purchase ease of use, and this is the operation definition. You can get this operation definition from the previous author to define what is the variable, what is your variable, and then you can have a few sets of measurement from different authors, okay, and you can compare and contrast. But first, you can just list down all the set of measurement for that variable, and after that, you can compare and contrast, and you can decide on which one or which of the set of measurement that you are going to use for your research. Okay. This is for the quantitative previously. Okay, so is there any problem? Ada tak apa-apa, any question or any problem to ask? So I hope you try and you please follow the step and you have at least this table, okay, and also this table. Okay, so this table you are going to list down all the set of measurement related to your variable on how previous research, previous study or previous scholar measure the same variable. Okay. So I hope you have this, and you after that you can discuss with your supervisor and finalize which of the set of questionnaire or set of items or measurement that are suitable for your research. Okay. Okay, any problem tak? Ada apa-apa masalah or anything that you want to ask regarding the quantitative survey questionnaire, how to develop quantitative survey questionnaire. So after this, okay, after you have done with your table, you can put your table here, okay, survey questionnaire. So you can submit your survey questionnaire here, okay. And after this week, after this session, I'm going to show you on how to develop your Google form. Okay, how to use Google form and how to put all the question or all the items in the Google form. Okay, lepas ni after this session lah, next session insyaAllah. Alright, so I hope you have some understanding and get some ideas on how to develop your own questionnaire. Okay, and of course, actually for the questionnaire, we usually have at least two parts, at least two parts. Okay, saya akan tunjuk sikit lah. Okay, tak apalah after this lah. At least two parts usually for the quantitative. At the top of the questionnaire, we usually have the demographic part. Okay, so demographic part, you can ask any questions regarding the profile of your respondent and also the profile of the organization. If you do something related to organization, or if your respondent apa representing their organization. So you can ask a profile or background or demographic question about the respondent and about the organization. Okay, that they are representing lah. Okay, so itu adalah that are the top or the first part of the questionnaire for the survey questionnaire, and you can proceed for the next part with the question for each variable. We usually divide the items for that variable into different subcategory lah. Okay, for example, part one is for the demographic part. For example, my study here kan. Okay, I have three independent variable and one dependent variable. So I have the question regarding perceived ease of use, perceived usefulness, perceived security, and intention to use. So for this question, questionnaire, I will have at least four parts. Okay, the part one is for the demographic part. The second one is the question regarding perceived ease of use. Part 3 is questions, items regarding perceived usefulness. Part 4, questions regarding perceived security. And part 5 is question regarding intention to use. So we are going to transfer all the questions or items into our Google form. Okay, later I will show you how to use Google form to come up with your own questionnaire. Okay, itu adalah for the questionnaire or for the quantitative objective ataupun research. Okay, so the next one, okay, I'm going to show you on the qualitative research on how to develop the interview protocol, what we call interview protocol, if you use interview, okay, for your qualitative research. Okay, so this is how we are going to study on how to design interview protocol. Okay, but before that, what is interview protocol? Okay, can you from your phone, okay, can you go to Google website and then type interview protocol? So what are the outcomes or what are the input that we can get from the Google regarding the definition of interview protocol? Okay, can you copy from the phone and paste in the chat box here so that I can read your finding? Okay, Nitya. Okay, so according to what Nitya found in the Google, interview protocol is what to say at the beginning of the interview. Okay, to introduce yourself and the topic of the interview, how to collect participant consent, interview question, and what to say when you end the interview. Okay, thank you, Nitya. Okay, according to Kamun, from the findings of your search, okay, what to say? Okay, sama sama. So please kalau boleh copy and paste the different point. Okay, the different point from your friends. Okay, apa lagi? Apa lagi? What can you find? What can you find from the Google, from the internet, on the definition of interview protocol? Okay. Apa lagi? Please read. Please use your phone. Use Google. Find the definition of interview protocol. Copy and paste here. Okay. So, Jingchan, researcher interview protocol is an instrument of inquiry asking question for specific information related to the aims of study, as well as instrument for conversation about particular topic. Okay, so it is consists of two things. Okay, instrument of inquiry and instrument of instrument for conversation. Okay, based on pattern kan. Okay, lagi what other definition for interview protocol? Ada lagi tak? So basically, interview protocol is not just a set of questions, okay, but it is a interview protocol, okay, on the plan for your interview, okay, the guideline for the interview. Macam tadilah, apa, similar to what have been mentioned by your friends tadi. So it is a guideline on what to say, how to start the interview, and until what to and how to end the interview. So it is actually the balance between the conversation, okay, what are we going to say, and the inquiry, what are we going to ask, so that the question or the answer can be related to our research question or research objective. Okay, so that is the interview protocol. Basically, it is a interview guideline. Okay, interview guideline on how to conduct the interview. Okay. So it is more than just a set of questionnaire, okay, ataupun soalan. Alright. So for the interview process here, so this is the process, okay, that you have to go through to complete your interview. Okay. So first you need to scheduling. So you need to scheduling. So this interview, so this part or this step, first of all, before you scheduling, you need to make sure that you have identify your your participant. Okay. So usually for quantitative response, we call the interviewee, we call as the person that answered the questionnaire. For the quantitative, we usually name them as respondent. Okay, but for the interview, we call them as participant, because in the interview they participate in giving the answer. And okay, so first of all, you need to identify your participant. For example, in my at my research previously, I'm going to do something related to zakat recipient. So I need to identify the zakat recipient first for my participant. Okay. After you have identified the participant, next the next step is to scheduling, which is you can have the schedule, you can have the email or phone call, okay, to ask or to tell or to inform your participant regarding the purpose of the interview, the appointment, to have the appointment with the participant, okay, to confirm the time, the place, and also to make sure that um, the participant aware that this interview are confidential. Okay, we are not going to expose any of the information to the outsiders, because this is for all the information that we have from the interview will be used for the research and academic purpose only. Okay, so first, when you identify your participant, you need to ask them, or you need to confirm the appointment in terms of time and place and the purpose. You need to inform the purpose of the interview to the participant. Okay. Then the second steps adalah regarding preparation. So what you need to prepare first, you need to create the interview protocol ataupun interview guideline. Okay, so you need to come up with a set of question. Okay, so usually for the interview, we do not have to adapt or adopt from the previous study. Okay, what are the important thing in creating the question for the interview is you must make sure that the questions are aligned with your research question or research objective. Okay, so you need to make sure that what you need to make sure that what are the questions that you are going to propose or you are going to ask, it is aligned with your research question and research objective. Okay, for the preparation also, when you have the items, or sorry, the question, okay, you need to assemble the material. So you need to print interview guideline, you need to have the notepad, wristwatch here, you need to have the watch so that you can make sure the duration, you can fulfill the duration for the interview. And the most important thing, you need to have the recorder. Okay, you need to have the recorder, you need to record all the conversation. Okay, you need to record all the information that uh, during the interview. So you can use the recorder from use your phone as the recorder, or if you are going to interview using, let's say we use apa online platform, for example you use Webex, Meet and so on, you have to make sure that your platform or your tool study, okay, uh, can apa record the session. Kan usually for Webex, for example, you can record the session, right? So you can use Webex or you can use any other tools, but you have to make sure that you can record the session. Okay. And next one, when we started with the preparation, we can go to the interview. Okay. So during the interview, okay, we have a few parts. Okay, for the first part, for the introduction part, okay, during the interview, okay, so you can have the introduction. You can introduce yourself to each other. Okay, you can thank the participant. You need to explain the purpose of the interview. You need to explain the benefit and the feedback. You need to explain the confidentiality. Okay, you need to explain the interview course, and you also need to grant the permission. You ask the permission to record in the interview. Okay, so this is very important. So your participant must aware that the session will be recorded. Okay, so you need to ask the permission to record the interview session. Then during the interview also, you need to make sure you are recording the session. And during the interview, if you think that you need to ask extra question, so you need to jot down, or you need to have the notes lah. Okay, the notes to have extra question, for example. And the last one, okay, at the end of the interview, you can thank the participant, and you can mention the next step, okay, and the benefit and the feedback from the question from the interview, okay. And during the interview, you can also have a few notes, okay. For example, if you have additional information to inform, or you have additional question to ask, okay. And if you have any extra ideas or insight based on the interview, so you need to have immediate documentation. For example, you have in the protocol previously, you have, let's say, 5 questions. Then during the interview, you notice that you should have extra extra few questions, for example. So that one is not included in your previous or initial uh, interview protocol. So when you have extra points, extra data, extra idea, extra knowledge from the participant, then you need to have an immediate documentation. So you need to write as soon as possible, so that you do not have the miss you do not miss the point lah. Okay, so find and disturb the environment, so that you can write the extra point tadi. Okay, so that is a field notes. And then the documentation, after you have all the transcript, or all the recorded video or recorded voice for the interview, then you have to transcribe lah. Okay, so the transcription here, okay, of the interview text, usually we use typist, or you can do it yourself, or you can hire the typist to transcribe the interview text. Okay, so from the recorded session, from the voice note, for example, or from the voice uh, message, you must transform, okay, the into the text. So you need to write, you need to type the outcomes of the interview in the text lah, dalam bentuk text form. Okay. And transcription of the trigger and film note. Also, if you have extra notes tadi, previously you have extra notes, extra point. So you need to also transcribe the trigger and notes tadi. Okay. So it is advisable to transcribe not later than 24 hours. Okay. So this is the process. So after this, you need to identify your participant. Okay, identify participant. Okay, make the appointments with your participant, and then after that you can start to prepare your interview protocol. Okay, so this is how to develop interview protocol. Okay, so first you need to make sure that your questions align with the research question. So the interview question must be aligned with research question. Okay, because as we know that our research question at the end of the study or at the end of this research, the research question must be or must have the answer. So that's why you have to make sure that all the interview question it is aligned with the research question. Okay, step number 2 is you have to construct inquiry-based conversation. Okay, so the interview question it is different from the research question. For example, your research question is what is uh, for example, I'm going to do something related to electric vehicle. So let's say my research question is what is the challenge in using electric vehicle in Malaysia? So that is my research question. So you have to tune or you have to rephrase your research question so that you can come up with the research interview ataupun interview question that is more orang kata can be more understand ataupun dia lebih it can influence your participant to participate and to give their answer. Okay, so you need to have question that is not too long, question that have no complex words, a question that can be, of course, can be reflect your research question. Okay, and number 3 is to receive feedback from the interview protocol. Once you have the questions, when you have a complete questions of your interview, so the next one is you need to test the reliability and the validity of the questions. So what you have to do, you need to submit, you need to send your questions, your interview question to the panel or to the expert so that they can verify and they can give their opinions regarding your question. Okay, so you can have the feedback, okay, to enhance or to make sure that your research or your interview question is ataupun your interview question can answer your interview your research question. Okay, so what you need to ask, for example, first you need to ask regarding the formatting, regarding the spelling. Okay, that one we call face validity. Okay, regarding the arrangement of the words, and regarding the arrangement of the items itself kan. So you can ask the panel or you can ask the expert to look at your items. And the second one we call the content validity. Content validity is you want to make sure that your items or your questions, okay, are reflecting your research objective and research question. Because you have to make sure, again, we have to make sure that our interview question are aligned with our research question. So that's why it is important to verify our question to the expert so that we can have some feedback and if and we can have the correction lah kan if we need it lah. Okay, so you need to submit you need to send your interview protocol or the questions of the protocol to the panel or to the expert so that they can verify and we can enhance the reliability and also the validity of your question. Okay. And then now, number 4, when you have the question, you have the feedback for the question. Number 4 is you have to do the pilot test. Okay, pilot test is you are going to simulate the interview process using the finalized questionnaire tadi. Okay, so you can have the feedback from the actual respondent. For example, if my participant is zakat recipient. So in pilot test, I will ask a few zakat participant, okay, to come and do the pilot test. Okay, so we are going to simulate the interview, okay, to get the actual response from the actual respondent and to get the experience of interview so that you can have the apa experience and you can have the insight on what are going to happen during the interview kan. Jadi you are going to have some experience lah on how to conduct the interview later. And you can also test the interview setting in terms of, for example, the duration, in terms of the question, in terms of the feedback from the respondent and so on. So after you have done until step 4, then barulah you can go for your interview. Okay, so you need to go through all these 4 steps dulu before you start your actual interview lah. Okay, any questions so far? Ada apa-apa soalan? Okay, so we are going to this is bukan this is step 1. Okay, so let's take a look at our first step, step 1. So step 1 is to ensure interview question align with your research question. So this is important because again, at the end of any research, we need to make sure that all of our research question and research objective have the answer ataupun achieve their objective kan. So first we have to map, okay, we have to make sure that our interview question are aligned with the research question. Nanti I'll show you the example. And the second one, you need to understand that your research question formulate what you want to understand, but your interview question are what you ask people to gain that understanding. Okay, so again, your research question formulate what you want to understand. For example, you want to understand why electric vehicle user or you want to understand the challenge faced by electric vehicle user. Okay, you want to understand the challenge faced by electric vehicle user. So that is your research question. But your interview question, okay, you must ask the question, okay, to gain that understanding, to get the understanding, to understand the challenge. So you have to come up with the question. Okay, so it is what we call interview question. So in research question is quite different lah with interview question. However, it must be aligned. Okay, it must be aligned. Okay, the second step is second step is how to or the construction of inquiry-based conversation. So as one of your friend mentioned before, okay, the interview protocol here, it is a balance between inquiry and conversation. Inquiry is you want to ask question that related to your research objective. Okay, but the conversation here, the question must be in form of conversation, a long conversation. So you have to avoid the question that have just a binary answer. Binary means that you just ask, for example, are you agree with this statement? Then the answer will be yes or no. So it is not advisable to use that type of question. So your question must be a conversation type of question where the participant can explain in details, can give their opinions in detail, can have or can give any form of or any types of conversation or their opinions regarding the issue. Okay, so it must be in a type of conversation, kan, perbualan. Janganlah, do not have the answer that just do not have the question that only the answer is yes or no, agree, disagree. So you can have the you cannot have the explanation, or you cannot have the more understanding on apa the answer, kan. So that is why it must be a balance between inquiry. Okay, inquiry is the question that align with your objective or question, and it must be in form of conversation. So there are a few types of questions that you can arrange in your you can have in your interview protocol. Okay, first you need to have the introductory question. Okay, introduction of the interview. So the introductory question here is that the question they are neutral and general, and then you want to have the general information, okay, regarding the issue. Okay, so for example, if I'm going to study related to let's say my objective is to study the challenge faced by electric vehicle user in Malaysia. So my introductory question, maybe I can ask, okay, how long have you used electric vehicle? Okay, so I can ask that question. So they will answer lah, okay, I have been using this electric vehicle since blah blah blah. Okay, so what is the brand of what is the brand of car that you use for electric vehicle, for example, kan, and what is the experience so far, what is the best experience so far using electric vehicles, for example. So that is the introductory question, some general question to make your participant apa comfortable to ask the question. Okay, so this is the general introduction question. So you can ask any question related to your issue. Okay, and then the transition question. Okay, question that link dua kali that link the introductory question to the key question to be asked. Okay. So you can have like for example tadi kan, I can ask tadi, okay, what are the best experience using electric vehicle? What are the bad experience using electric vehicle so far, and so on. So that is the transition question. And the most important part is key question. So the key question here are the question that are most related to the research question and the purpose of study. So this is the main question that we are going to have to answer our research objective and research question. For example, tadi my question is, what are the challenge faced by EV user in Malaysia? So here I must have the question that ask the participant regarding the challenge. So I can ask here, okay, so during or since you are using this for example like 5 years, so do you have any difficulties or challenge that you face during in using this electric vehicle? Okay, so that is the key question. Okay, you can ask the key question. You can have, or you can develop the key question that are most related to your research question. And after that, okay, so you need to also have the follow up or prompt. Okay, follow up question or prompt. So for example, from your study or from the previous research, from your literature search, you found out that there are at least 5 challenge mentioned by the previous author. For example, challenge in technology, challenge in government support, challenge in apa lagi, challenge in the price, for example, challenge in term of awareness, for example. So you identify that there are at least 5 types of challenge faced by electric vehicle user based on the previous study. So when the participant apa giving their opinions regarding the challenge tadi, okay, so when you think that, oh, so based on the interview, you identify that the participant have mention 3 of the 4 challenge. So you can have the prompt or the follow-up question. You can ask, oh, okay, what about government support? Do you have any challenge in related to the government support when you use electric vehicle. Okay, so you can have the follow-up question, or you can ask, can you explain more? Can you explain more regarding this point previously? Okay, so that is the follow-up question or prompts. Okay, so that you can add during the interview. So you need to interrupt, you need to ask the question, you need to get clarification, you need to get more explanation, okay, during the interview lah. So you cannot just let the participant to ask without interrupting. So you need to interrupt so that you can have more more answer, you can have a more detailed question and opinion. And in case the participant left out a few points, so you can ask and you can remind them, or you can trigger them to answer that question. Okay, then you have closing question. So when you think that, okay, you have all the points, your research question have been answered, or you have achieved your research objective through the key question. For the closing question, you can ask some easy question. For example, you can ask what is their apa hope, what is their belief, for example, what are their expectation, for example. So that are the among the example that you can use for the closing question. Kan, the expectation, what are their apa hope for certain issue, for example. For example, my case, for example, for electric vehicle user, so I have all the points. They have mentioned almost all the points regarding the challenge during using electric vehicle. So for the closing question, I can ask, so what is your apa suggestion, for example, what is your suggestion for the government, for example, okay, in order to overcome all the challenge faced by the electric vehicle user. So you can have that closing question. So that closing question you can use later in your report for the apa in the discussion part. Okay, in the discussion part. Okay, so this is all the types of question that you can have in your interview protocol. So you need to have the introductory question first. So you need to list down what is the introductory question that you are going to ask for at the beginning of the interview. Then you need to have the transition question that related with the introductory question and the key question. So you can have a few questions. So you can have, let's say, for example, 3 or 2 questions on the transition question, and you need to have the quick key questions. Okay, so the key question here will be different for each of your research objective. For example, my first research objective uh, to understand the challenge. So the key question must have all the key to understand the key challenge, the challenge. And let's say my second objective is to understand the advantage or the benefits of using electric vehicles. So I need to have a different set of key question for different research objective or research question. Okay, and the closing question here. So and you need to also have the closing question. So this is the among the type of question that you need to have in your interview protocol. Okay. Next one. Okay. Phase 3. So after you have your interview protocol, you have all the questions for all the research objective and or research question. And so the second phase or the third step. Okay. The third step here is to this is not in developing. So this is not developing interview protocol. This is receiving feedback. So now you need to submit. You need to find the ex. You need to find the expert of your issue, and you can submit your interview protocol to get the feedback regarding the reliability and validity of your question. Okay, So you can have the phase and content validity. So this is the example of the question. Okay, so you can ask, is the question the key questionnaire a majority and place between beginning and the question? Is the question reflective? Is the question provide smooth transition? Is the interview closed with express gratitude and so on? So this is all the formatting or the you evaluate in terms of arrangement of the question and the spelling, for example, the difficulties of the question, for example, so the comprehension. Okay, so this is what you can have, okay, to evaluate your to get the feedback for your interview protocol. So this is the form. This is the example of the form. For example, you submit the your interview protocol to the panel of expert. Then they will mark here yes or no, and they can also have the feedback for the improvement. So they can have so they can write their comments so that we can do some correction lah to improve our interview protocol. Okay, so this is among the example of what we can ask the panel. We can also ask the panel whether our questions are reflecting our research objective. Okay, so it is what we call content validity. So this is the example of face validity. Okay, so face validity ni usually we look at the arrangement of question, the suitability of the question, the lengthiness of the question, the arrangement, the apa, the spelling and so on, grammar and so on lah. Okay, but for the content validity, we ask the panel of expert to look at our question whether it is aligned with our research objective or research question. Okay, so this is receiving feedback. So when we have anything that we need to do the correction. So we have to revise our question lah. Okay, so then the phase one or the step four. Okay, we need to do the pilot test. Okay, to the interview protocol where we simulate the actual interview. Okay, to improve the interview protocol. This one, so yang tadi saya kata tadi, you have to find a few respondent or participant and you simulate. Okay, you simulate the interview or in a real condition, so you can have the duration. Okay, you can expect what are going to happen in the real interview and so on. Okay, so this is the pilot test for the interview protocol. Okay, so actually you can find in this slide, later I will attach this slide. So you can find a few interview protocol here. So this is the link, for example, here. Okay. So for example, this is a paper related to multiracial population in Malaysia. So this paper, okay, so this is they explain step by step on what are the process of doing the interview lah, right? Okay. So this is, for example, this is their research question. So how they turn this research question into the interview question, okay? So this is how they have their protocol matrix, what we call protocol matrix. In step one, okay, we want to make sure that our interview question align with research question. So they have this what we call interview protocol matrix. So so this is the background information here. So the introduction part. So who is ataupun which one of the Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5 here is the uh, a question kan. Okay, so let's say for background information, so you have all the question from all the participant. And for the RQ1, for example, so how are you going to have the answer for the RQ1? So you need to make sure that you have the answer for any of the participant kat sini. So for example, for the RQ1, so they will have the answer ni from the healthcare person, from the workplace, from the insurer kan. So this is the interview protocol metric lah. So you have to make sure you can align, or the simplest way is that you write your research question and you write your interview question. So you can check your research question and interview question, and you have to make sure that it is aligned lah, alright? Okay, then Second one, how they construct inquiry-based conversation. Okay. So this is the process lah. You can read how they develop the question. Okay. How they use certain words, how they change the word, how they rephrase the statement or the question. Okay. So you need to make sure kat sini, okay, you develop a good or a well, or you have a well developed question lah, to represent your research question. Okay. Kemudian step 3, okay, how they receive the feedback on the interview. So you can ask the panel expert to verify your question, okay, to make sure that in terms of face validity and also the content validity of your question. Okay. And number 4, okay, you have the pilot test lah. Okay, you have a small, you have a few simulation, okay, for your interview, okay, to look at what can you improve in the real interview session lah. Okay. Okay. So look at how they develop the question. So this is the RQ. RQ1 is what are the positive and negative factors for RTW. So look at the RTW. Apa RTW? Okay. Saya nak cari what is the term for RTW here. Okay, it is one of the program, okay. Uh, return to work program. So they are assessing regarding the return to work program. Okay, so let's look at how they change from the how they develop the research, the interview question from the research question. So let's say here, for example, the research question is, what are the positive and negative factors for return to work program outcomes from each stakeholder? So they want to look at the positive and negative factors for this program. Okay, so how they turn this into the question? Okay, so you can have here. So the question will be, in your opinion, okay, which personal factors are important? Okay, so they ask, in your opinion, what are the factors? Okay, what are the positive factors that contribute to RTW program, for example? So this is how they change or they rephrase the RQ, okay, to have their interview question. Okay. So itulah cara-cara macam mana ditukar. So for the second one, for example, okay, what are the positive? Okay, so they add here, in your opinion, what are the positive outcomes? Okay, for or what are the positive factors that contribute to RTW outcome, for example, kan? And then they ask also, what are the negative factors? Okay, in your opinion, what are the negative factors contribute to RTW outcomes? Okay, so that is how they develop their question lah. So it must be aligned with your research question. Kena align. Okay. You need to make sure that you are asking the question that can reflect your research question. Okay. So here, among of these question, can you tell me about your personal experience? So they are going to look at the experience. So itu cara lah dia tulis. Okay. So what is the worker's perception? Okay. Okay. What are key factors? Okay. So they are using the different words with the research question here, but it reflect the research question lah. Okay, the interview question to reflect the research question. Okay, nanti kamu baca, you can read this paper. So it is a very good paper on how or on step by step to come up with a interview question. Okay, so among the question, okay. Okay. When required, further question can be added. How long have you participated? How do you feel? What about healthcare personnel, manager involved? So this is the prompt or the extra question. You ask the participant so that they can it can trigger the participant to explain more or explain further. Okay. Okay, so this is this is the example on how they develop interview question lah. Okay, so what you can do. Okay, what you can do here. This is my example. Okay, so let's say I'm going to look at on the challenge of using electric vehicle in Malaysia. So my RQ1 is what are the advantage of using EV? Okay, RQ2, what are the challenge of using EV? RQ3, what are the factors to encourage the adoption of EV in Malaysia? So what I can do here, okay. So I can have, this is for, so I can have, so I can have my ROQ1, RQ2, and RQ3 here. Okay, so for RQ1, okay, so the question for the RQ is we can list this question related to RQ in the key question. So of course, first off, before we have the key question here, so you need to have the introductory question. You need to have apa tadi? Kita ada 3 jenis tadi. You need to have transition question. Okay, so the key question here that this is the one that related to your research question, and also you can have the closing question. So here, for example, I have my RQ1. What are the advantage of using EQ, for example? Okay. Okay, so what are the question that I can ask to make sure that I can achieve or I can answer my RQ1? What are the advantage of using EV? So I can say that, okay, in your opinion, okay, or what are when using the EV, what are the benefits that you have gained, kan? Okay, so itu for example the question. So I'm going to ask there's something that the advantage, but I use the word benefits, or what are the best thing about using kan? What are the best thing about using EV? So this is among the question that you can ask so that they can explain, the participant can explain regarding the advantage of using EV. Okay, so let's say for example, what are the challenge? Okay, so my second, so what are the challenge of using EV? So I can ask, so do you have any difficulties when using EV? Okay, and I can also ask, how did you overcome the difficulties? This is for example, okay? And for example, RQ3, what are the factors encourage, okay, the adoption of EV in Malaysia, for example? Okay, so I can ask, in your opinion, what we should do to make sure or to encourage more people to using more people to use EV. And so this is so you can also add the prompt or extra question. You can also ask, okay, in your opinion, what is the roles of government in encouraging more people to use EV, for example? Okay, so You can add more, okay, question, okay, to make sure that you can have the answer for your research question. Okay, so you can come up with your own table here. Okay, you can list down what are the possible key questions that you can use to make sure that you can answer your research question. Okay, so this is among the example. But of course, you need to also list down. Okay, you need to also list down the question or the introductory part, the transition question, and the closing question. For example, for my research, I can ask the introductory question regarding their experience of using electric vehicle, how many years, what are the car brands of the car that they use for electric vehicle, for example, and kan itu for the introductory question. And the transition question, maybe I can ask, okay, regarding, okay, the perception regarding electric vehicle in Malaysia. So what do you think about the electric vehicle usage in Malaysia? Right? So they can ask, okay, so their opinions regarding electric vehicles, uh, based on their experience. And the key question, so I have to come back with this, a few questions here regarding my RQ1. So I have to ask a few questions and I have to make sure that that questions can answer my research question. Okay, so you can come up with any type or any type, and you can rearrange your question. Just make sure that the question can answer your research question. So let's say here are the benefit, the advantage. So you can say the benefits, the experience of using the best experience. What are the best experience about using EV, right? Okay, and what are the challenge? Why, or you can ask, why do you use electric vehicle? Kan? And the second one, what are the challenges? Do you have any difficulties? How do you overcome that difficulties? And RQ3, so you want to know the factors, so you can ask their opinions regarding the factors the factors that encourage the adoption of EV. So you have to come up with this table lah. So this is the okay, this is the key question and question. So you have to come up with the question that related to introductory, transition, and also closing. So maybe for the closing, I can ask, okay, what is your overall perception or overall opinion regarding the electric vehicle in Malaysia? What do you think the best approach or method to encourage more people to use electric vehicle, and their perception ke, their hope ke apa-apa yang related to electric vehicle. So that one can be serve as kita punya our closing question. So you also need to do this type or this kind of approach ataupun process lah to get your interview protocol. Okay, so if you find from if you read one of the question kat sini, one of the example kat sini, okay, so you can see here, okay, they start with the question dengan, okay, for example here. So this is the introduction part. So this is the script. Okay. So I would like to thank you once again for being willing to participate. So you have to start from this. Okay. In the interview aspect of my study, so you need to have in this introduction, because in here you are going to inform the purpose of this research, the duration, the confidential confidentiality untuk the question, the answer, and we can start as here the consent form. Okay. Okay, then this is the script. So you can just adapt or adopt this script lah. Okay, to your internet interview protocol. So this is your research question, and this is how you explain. You come up with the question lah. Okay, so to begin with, I would like to ask you some question. So this is the introductory introductory question. Okay, then you go through. Okay, then thank you for your response. I would like to ask your question regarding your decision. Okay, so you can, so this is one approach, one type of one example of approach, okay, to for your script or for your interview protocol lah. Okay, so in your opinion, in your questionnaire, can you tell me a little bit about what is your perception? So this is the kind of question that you can come out for your interview question lah. You mentioned earlier you have taken so this is a kind of question. Okay. Yeah, I would like to ask you a few questions. Other question about blah 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 kan. Okay. So this is the example. So you can find this a few example here dalam this slide. Later after this I will attach or I will share this slide in your online learning. Okay. So for those yang buat, siapa yang buat qualitative? Anyone doing qualitative research here?
Saya doktor.
Ya.
Zati
Siapa?
buat.
Zati buat tentang apa?
Yang business dekat dalam UUM tu during
Alright.
Okay,
so Izati after this what you have to do Izati come out dengan macam like this slide kan. So let's say saya copy so let's say this is your topic, okay, put your topic here. Okay. Topic here. Okay. So before you go for RQ1, RQ2, RQ3, maybe you can have the yang tadi soalan tadi Okay, for example, for those yang buat qualitative, so maybe you can have introductory question here. Okay, so what are the questions that you are going to ask kat sini? Okay, then the second one is apa tadi kita ada? Transition question. Okay, so you can have transition question kat sini. Okay. Sorry. Introductory question. Transition question. Okay, so this is your yang ni bawah ni adalah okay, okay, so this one will be your this one will be your key question, and lastly you add here. Okay, lastly you have closing question. Okay, so you have transition introductory question. So you need to list down what are the question for the introductory question, and you have the transition question, what are the question, and you have the key question and also the closing question. Okay, so Izati after this, Izati mungkin boleh come out dengan this table. Okay, so to have a complete interview protocol, Izati boleh, you can look at this example. So you need to have this script. So I would like to thank you once again for being willing to participate, blah, blah, blah. My studies seek to what? Seek to understand how SME business in UUM survive during pandemic COVID-19. Okay. This study also seek to understand the approach done by SME to survive during pandemic, for example. Okay, what is the aim? Okay, so you can write our interview today will last approximately 1 hour, during which I will be asking you about blah 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 blah. Okay, so this is the script. You can use the same script, but you have to adopt and adapt lah. Okay. Okay, so you can, and after that you can have your introductory question. This is the name. You can have the introductory question. You can have the transition question, the key question dan juga closing question. Okay, so bila dah lengkap, when you have all the question, then you can you can submit to the, of course lah, discuss dengan your supervisor first, kemudian submit to the panel to get the verification in term of validity and reliability. Okay, Izzati boleh tak rasa-rasanya buat? Izzati boleh ke?
Boleh
Okay,
doktor.
so buat dalam bentuk table ni So combine this table dengan yang empat ni tadi. Combine that table dengan this script. So you have this script at the top of your interview protocol interview protocol. Okay. So kalau Zati boleh buat, maybe after this you can share with us your interview protocol so that we can sama-sama tengok lah. Boleh?
Doktor.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, kita dah more than 2 minutes ni, lebih exceed 2 minutes from our session. Any other question so far? Especially from those yang buat qualitative, from those that yang nak buat qualitative, any other question? Ada? Tak ada Semua okay? So hopefully after this, I want to see your apa nama kat sini I want to have your question, your interview question, or your survey questionnaire. I want to have your interview protocol and survey questionnaire here. So please submit so that I can check and we can discuss. Okay, you can do it together with your the discussion with your supervisor ataupun before you submit to your supervisor. Okay, so please submit here. So I will check and we will discuss in our session, or you can have discussion with your supervisor jugalah. Okay, so I hope to see your survey questionnaire, your interview protocol after this. Please submit here so that we can discuss. Okay, so I think that's all for our session today. I hope you get some understanding and information regarding on how to develop your interview protocol. Okay, so it is very simple, quite simple compared to questionnaire design, questionnaire survey. However, of course, it has steps lah you have to follow to make sure that you get or you can come up with a valid and reliable interview protocol. Okay, so I think that's all class for today. If you do not have any question, thank you very much for your participation. And next session, we are going to review. We are going to review your questionnaire survey and your interview protocol. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much. With that, we postpone our session with Tasbih Kafarah and Surah Al-As.
Doktor, saya nak scan.
Alright, kejap. Okay, thank you class. Boleh dismiss. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.